Today's chat is brought to you by, well, all of your support. Through the patronage you provide the Focus Fire chat team through Podbean's crowdfunding, we are able to provide you with the weekly podcast as well as the website and other aspects of Focus Fire chat. If you have any interest in becoming a patron of the FFC, please be sure to visit our website and click on the support link. Even a single dollar helps, and for those of you who are already patrons, thank you again for your generosity. You may have heard the whispers of guardians gathering in the shadows, exploring the mysteries of this world and the worlds which surround us. We are all in search of truth. Sometimes we need to focus that search, focus that fire. And so we come together. Join us. Join the discussion. Welcome to Focused Fire Chat. Welcome to Focus Fire Chat, recorded live on December 6, 2019, over on twitch.tv/FocusFireChat. As always, I want to give a big shout out to our live chat here with us tonight. Thank you so much for joining us once again. This week's episodes are going to be focused around exploring the universe of Greedfall. So this particular episode will serve as what we have come to call the intro session of the week's exploration. Before we go any further, however, let's run through a quick introduction of who all we have with us on this show. As always, this is your host, Blue Crew 86.
And this is your retail happy co-host, Green-Eyed Music Lover.
And last but definitely not least, in the hot seat as guest co-host, we have our good friend Azrael-7. Azrael, how are you doing?
I'm hanging in there. It's
nice.
Kind of been a night, but, you know, it's all working out in the end,
hear you.
So...
It's a Friday, right?
Yeah.
Is that a good thing for you?
I
know sometimes it's not always a good thing.
Well, take it how you will, but I tried to take tonight and tomorrow off. And all my manager did was like, we're just going to rearrange your schedule and you're still working tomorrow. And I'm like, oh, well, thanks. I was like,
oh, no.
Yes, I've tried to take days off and she just rearranges my schedule. She lets other people take days off and I'm like, do you have a grudge against me or something? Like, come on.
But why?
Maybe it's a good compliment saying that you are just so good of a worker that she just can't do it without you.
Yeah.
Green might have an opinion on this situation.
I mean, to be fair, everybody at my work, there's 20 of us that are hired. All 20 work on Saturdays. Like,
that's fair.
There's no one gets off.
Yeah. Which, I mean, I guess, I don't know. Like, when I was in the retail branches on the retail side instead of the support side, we had similar. We always flipped. So like we'd always have like I think it was like two weekends every month. Everyone had to work every 2 weekends each. And so it was just like, and usually it was like you had one weekend and then you had the next off and then you had one weekend. Like now that I'm on the support side, you know, technically we're not on duty, but anytime, any moment you can get a phone call and it's like, hey, this blew up. So
you know the interesting thing is that I've worked retail before and this always seems to do this, but holidays you have Black Friday craziness, you have like Cyber Monday craziness, and then by Wednesday everything slows down.
Yeah, except they've extended all the Cyber Monday stuff. I was talking
but nobody's coming in on.
Oh, I guess that's true. Yeah, because Cyber Monday. Yeah, I was talking to someone the other day about like how it's just gotten to the point where it's like there's not a Black Friday anymore. It's like the Black Week,
right?
Like it's just like I mean, I started getting emails for deals that are like this is the pre-Black Friday. I'm like, dude, it's like 2 weeks away. Like, what are you doing?
Like, right?
Man.
Yeah. I just don't go into stores that week, like you were saying. No, I'd rather keep my life and not go to the hospital.
Yeah.
You know what? It seems like it's not as big a deal anymore because everybody shops online, so it's less and less
Cyber
that you have
Monday,
people running into like Best Buy or Walmart or wherever to get the big TVs. Also, fun fact: if you don't know this, manufacturers actually make stuff specifically for Black Friday weekend. It's not as good as the normal price stuff. Just saying.
I just have made it a rule of thumb not to do anything on that Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Just nope.
Yeah, if I'm at like on vacation with family like we were this year, I'm asleep. I'm like, no, I'm just gonna sleep. I'm gonna take the advantage of being where someone's watching the Minion, and I'm gonna go to sleep.
Stay home in your comfy pants and grind out Destiny. That's my go-to on that weekend.
Well, usual introductory question for you, Azrael. Where can we find you on the internet?
I'm pretty much a lurker right now. You can find me on Twitter at Azrael-7. I haven't posted anything. I really only got it to keep up with you guys and take part in polls. So you kind of ruined the social media blackout I had.
Aww, you feel special. We corrupted him.
Yes, you corrupted me. But otherwise, I'm on Discord under the same name. I could probably be found there pretty often.
Nice.
Cool. Well, we'll be sure to get those linked over in our show notes, as always, with thelorenetwork.com when the deep dive segment or the advanced session goes live this week. Green, I don't know. Do you have any of your infamous crazy questions?
Not so much infamous, but just more of a curiosity. Greedfall is a fairly new game.
Correct.
And I'm curious because you were actually the one to reach out to us about doing this topic, and we didn't even do a poll for this topic. So I kind of wanted to get why, and this is kind of sliding into the introduction episode a little bit too, but like why this game? What drew you into this game? Like what was the passion that brought you in?
Well, you could say that I stumbled into it accidentally, just perusing YouTube, and I was like, oh, let's see if there's any new trailers for any new games, and I stumbled into that. I was like, okay, this looks pretty cool, and I looked into it, and I was like, oh, this is a little bit like Destiny, just a little bit with more of the choice aspect of it. And I've loved fantasy role playing games, so I'm like, hey, I'll give it a shot, and it turned out to be really, really good actually for a double A game. It's not triple A, it's double A.
Yeah, this is their first game, if I remember correctly, right?
Yeah, well, no, not they. Spiders have put out several games, but this is the more popular of their games. Okay. Because I don't. It's a French publisher, right? Yes, it's so French publisher.
Yeah, because I'll be honest. I haven't even heard of the group until I think I stumbled on. I think it was same for me. I stumbled on one of the early trailers back in, was it E3 of 17?
17, it would have been 17, yeah.
Yeah. And it was like I was watching the trailer and I was like, man, this thing looks pretty cool. And then of course I get sucked into Destiny again, as it does. And I'm like, I don't have time for another immersive game. But like I remember watching it, I'm like, I'm gonna have to keep an eye on this one because it reminded me a lot of Assassin's Creed. Like as far as like the look.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Just it's not all that sneaky around. You don't have a sneaky up button to insta kill people, which is disappointing.
Oh.
So when I was reading through stuff on it, it really comes across as almost a Skyrim-like, and I know it's not necessarily open world, but it's the play how you want. That was the thing I saw people talk about all the time.
It's a pseudo open world. The maps are pretty big, but it's very pseudo open world.
Okay. Blue?
Yeah, well, so let's run through our standard housekeeping notes real quick, and then I'm going to just basically hand it right back over to Azrael to get into the intro session. Real quick, though, I did, before we run through our intro notes, I just wanted to say thank you to everyone for sticking with us. We really appreciate it. We know that the break that we took was kind of a last-minute announcement, but it was much needed, and... It was much needed. We really appreciate you guys sticking with us and being patient and giving us a bit of a breather. I think Green kind of forced my hand because I got into a habit of not even thinking about taking breaks. And it was one of those things where it's like, nope, we're going to take a break. And it was like, I think it was the first week in that we were in it. I remember messaging Green being like, thank you for smacking me and making me actually look up and take care of, me. But again,
not only did I get a message from you, I got one from Anna too.
Yeah. My wife might have been a little happy that I wasn't running on 2 hours of sleep for the entire weekend. But and it just made me really realize, hey guys, burnout's real. We say that a lot, and it's just one of those things that this one hit close to home because it actually was the case. I will say also that I've had a lot of good conversations offline with a couple new people that we're looking to possibly bring on for the website aspect. I'm really actually getting excited to make a few announcements with that when we get those ironed out. I think 2020 is going to actually be a really cool year for that side of not just the podcast, but also the Lore Network in general. So keep an eye out on that. If you don't already follow the Lore Network over on Twitter, be sure to jump over there and give us a follow on that channel as well. Because we will be, the idea is I'm hoping to maybe even start branching out into other games other than just Destiny. So if you have other things like Greedfall or any of the extra lore series that we have done in the past, that will be a good place to keep an eye on. But like I said, we're going to run through standard housekeeping notes, and then we'll give right back over to Azrael. Our last episode was a discussion over the capabilities of light. If you're enjoying the show, please be sure to let us know by giving us a shout over on Twitter, leaving a comment on Podbean, or sending us a quick email at focusedfirechat@gmail.com. Reviews or comments on where we can improve are always welcome. They let us know what we can do better to create a more enjoyable experience for everyone. To all who have sent feedback or left us a review, thank you. As many of you are aware, Focus Fire Chat is a community in which we offer the chance to dive into lore from within various titles and mediums, with a special focus on the Destiny universe. Every Friday at about 10 p.m. Central, the podcast team gets together to stream a summary of the chosen topic for that week. The hope for this is to help encourage dives into aspects of game lore within both our Discord server and within the other communities we share the digital world with. If you're a fan of lore in all its various forms, be sure to also check out thelorenetwork.com, a central hub for content that covers a wide variety of different titles and mediums. Our full show notes for each week's topics will be posted here, so for the additional information or guest details, be sure to check the site out. Next week's topic is going to be the lore book aspect. That being said, however, we still want to hear your thoughts about this week's topic, so be sure to weigh in over on Discord, and don't be shy in tagging any of the team in on the conversation. We can't wait to read what your thoughts are. But for now, let's get back to the show. Azrael, where's the best place for us to start, do you think?
Well, the best place to start, in my opinion, is to go through the factions of each group that you meet in the first little, I guess, introduction to the game.
Okay.
So there's six.
There's
6 factions.
Okay.
Well, hang on real quick. So just to make a clear statement too, I know we had talked about this. I wanted to make it obvious to other people there are going to be spoilers, right? Not
so much for the introductory.
Okay.
I would say
cool.
Maybe minor spoilers.
Okay, cool. I didn't want to call it out just because I remember you and I chatted about that.
Yeah, correct. That's more of the advanced session where we go in depth on kind of each companion that's related to the factions.
Oh, okay, cool.
So there will be minor spoilers probably in this session, if any at all. But it gets to major spoilers in the advanced session.
Perfect. Cool. Awesome. All right.
So clans, there's 6 of them.
Correct. There's 6 of them. When you start the game in Serene, which is the capital, you would call it, of the Congregation of Merchants, which is your player's faction. You play as Desardet, who's the nephew of Prince d'Orsay, who's the leader, the prince merchant of the congregation.
Okay. So we're experiencing the world through, how do you say his name one more time?
Desardet.
Desardet.
And if I switch over and call him Sardine, it's because he... We'll get to why I call him that a little bit later, so keep that in the back of your mind. But
he's he's going to be forever called Sardine by either Blue or myself now.
It works. It works.
That is way easier.
Wait, a nickname that's based in food? I'm on it.
Well, the
totally
thing
supporting
is,
this plan.
So, a little bit of a tangent, not too big, but when I was going over to Reddit to participate in the conversations there, I literally called myself Sir D. Sardine, just because that name just cracks me up every time I say it. It's so close to Sardet that I say one and it comes out as the other, and I'm like, oh well, oops.
It's too easy. It's like a pancake. It's fine.
Pancake's totally it. Pancake and enchilada, best thing ever.
And Cladius and Pahanan. But, the fact that you called it pancake on the lore panel. Anyway, we should get back to Greedfall.
But before we go too deep into the congregation, we should probably mention that the game itself takes place in a very 17th century kind of Europe culture. Mm-hmm. So it draws heavily on that era of muskets and swords, but nothing like we see today.
Okay, so if we were to pick another franchise or anything, would it be similar to Assassin's Creed Syndicate time period, or okay?
Just less of the cowls. There's no really hoods in this game, which is sad. Okay. But some of the hats are pretty cool. I'll tell you that.
Nice hat time. But okay, so we start in Serene, and I'm assuming kind of a French style 17th century area. And
you basically run around the town meeting all these other factions, minus the natives, because you don't meet the natives until you go to Tierfredi, and that's where you meet them for the first time. So that's the only faction that isn't on the continent where Serene is located.
Okay.
But anyways, so the congregation, they're very neutral when it comes to the other four factions on the continent. With the Coin Guard, Taleme, the Bridge Alliance, and the Knots. Those are the other factions that you meet in Serene. So they maintain a very neutral standpoint, which makes sense since they're merchants. Mm-hmm. They sell stuff to other people, and you can't really sell stuff if you've got hostile connections with another faction, obviously.
Is there a bit of a competition that you see with them? Is that part of kind of the initial story, as you see a bit of competition, or is it a fairly...
With the congregation, there isn't much conflict with the others, but you do see conflict with a few other ones within the game. Since you're promoted to a legate at the beginning of the game, you're basically the head diplomat sent to Tierfredi.
Okay.
So you're settling arguments between everybody else, really.
You get to be the runner boy, the message boy.
You do a lot of running, and I will say it is very nice that they have an infinite sprint in that game, because it would suck walking everywhere. It got to the point I'm like, just add horses, please.
Mm-hmm. So you have the Congregation of Merchants. You do kind of a liaison type thing between all the different merchants. What about some of the other factions? Because that's only one of the six, correct?
Yes. So how they kind of relate to the other factions is they hire the Coin Guard to protect then between the other factions, between interactions with Thélème and the Bridge Alliance specifically, because they're going at it, to say the least. They don't like each other, but that's based on their beliefs. So they hire out the Coin Guard, and the Coin Guard are mercenaries. They're the only faction that are mercenaries, trained with weapons and stuff, to the point of they've monopolized it, which is dangerous. And you see that later on, how dangerous that can become.
It's mafia.
Yeah.
Are they organized at all, or is it just kind of a bunch of cutthroats?
No, they're organized with, I guess, barracks in every city faction.
Okay. I'm just thinking through my head comparisons through, like, Skyrim, because it can't help it. Just the, what's the name of the sword
Dark
faction?
Brotherhood.
No, I'm thinking more soldier-like. The military
the blade,
one.
or not the Blades.
The Blades.
Are you thinking the Blades? Yeah, the Blades.
I am thinking the Blades.
Yeah, then there's the Adventuring Guild, too. But yeah, the Blades were the secret fighters. And the Fighters Guild and all that.
Fighters Guild. Yeep. Okay. So Coin Guard, they're the military-esque group that is keeping people safe.
Correct.
For a little bit of coin.
Mm-hmm.
And give you protection. I give you protection.
Right. They make offers you can't. They make offers you can't refuse.
Mm-hmm. And then the next one looks like a Thalmor kind of thing, in so much as Thélème.
Yeah, it's
French is weird.
I will say that it gets worse when it comes to the natives. I promise. It gets worse.
Yay!
So just expect a lot of mispronunciations for the natives. It gets hard.
Okay, so what is that group? The Thélème?
It's okay. I can correct you as many times as it needs.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Because, yeah, it's one of those words where you have to hear it to be able to pronounce it.
Okay.
But the Thélème are more of a religious group that built themselves off the teachings of Saint Matthias, who taught that group light magic.
Are we going to get into magic systems within this a little bit? I know that's okay.
When we discuss in depth on Desarde, I'll get into the different kind of aspects of what abilities you can use with magic and muskets and all that kind of stuff.
Cool. All right, so you have kind of the religious faction.
Correct.
The military faction, and then the merchant group.
Yes.
I'm totally stuck on the fact that you get to play a magic sardine.
Correct. And the best part about magic...
Chat's over here just going, just let Blue pronounce everything. I'm like, that's going to be mad.
Yeah. I'd like to see you try, though, to be honest.
Oh, God.
But with Thélème, they base themselves with magic, primarily light, and you wear armor to protect yourself from the physical aspect. Light magic says, nah, I'm not putting up with that, and bypasses the armor. So armor's useless when going up against people with magic.
Okay.
So that's something that's interesting.
So, let's see here.
As a side sect, they have an inquisition called the Ordo Luminis.
Because why not? They have to.
It's what they do is secret, let's say that. I mean, they're known, you can go apply and stuff, but what they do is a little bit dirty when it comes to Tirfredi. They kidnap and torture natives who don't...
Oh.
You're like, you want to be part of our religion? No? Okay, we'll torture you until you say yes.
Okay, remind me, the natives are not necessarily part of Serene.
That's the Thalmor.
It's a different look.
Green. That's the Thalmor.
I know, but like that's why I compared them, because I may have actually done a little bit of reading up before we started this one. So the natives are not necessarily part of Serene. Nope. That's in a different location.
That's on a different continent entirely. Correct.
Okay. So they go off and they torture them for kicks or for a particular reason, or are they just jerks? Without getting into spoilers.
Without getting into spoilers, they have motivation too. They have very heavy motivation of why they think that the natives should convert.
Okay. So they're kind of the jerky Inquisition types. We have, just kind of going back, the merchants, the mercenaries, the religious fanatics
They're
as well as not fanatics.
well, I would say more the general populace of Ptolemy they're just religious. When it comes to the Ordo Luminous, that's where you get the fanatics and the extremism from.
Okay. So then after that you have Bridge Alliance.
Correct. And Ptolemy and Bridge Alliance, they are not on good terms. Because the Bridge Alliance focuses on science and technology, and in the eyes of Ptolemy, they think they've abandoned God, in a sense.
Okay.
So it's that traditional God versus science mentality in this game, which is really interesting, I think, in general, that they would put that in there.
It's a good trope. I mean, it's just kind of one you see a lot anymore. It's just you see science buck up against the religious groupings. But, so they're kind of an Blue, D&D, help.
Oh yeah, it's an arcanist. You're talking about like the wizard tech.
Yeah, I mean, not necessarily with magic, but like more of an actual,
like an alchemist,
scientific. Is an alchemist just science?
That can be.
Well, alchemy is something they focus on. So
yeah, like it depends on what translation you're going with. The other thing too is like, just on a historical note, there is like I don't know. Yeah, I'm not going to touch that. That I have a problem because the historical accuracy of the trope is just not present. But that's neither here or there, and that's going to get me in trouble with other individuals.
So the Bridge Alliance,
Veru's saying, it's like a technomancer.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the Bridge Alliance doesn't get along with the starts with a T.
Tamales.
Tamale. Best one yet. Ptolemy. I'm getting closer.
I'm telling you, it's tamales. It's tamales.
Oh my gosh, this is going to go bad. So they don't get along with those two, but how do they interact with, say, the mercenary group and the merchant group? Because we have those other ones as well still around.
Correct. So they interact with the Coin Guard just the same way as the Coin Guard interacts with the congregation, which is they hire them out to protect. So much so that they don't have very many coffers, to say the least. They've expended more money, and that's why they're kind of focusing on science and technology to be like, look, we have this new thing that we can sell you to help you do this, and people buy it up.
Okay.
So they're resorting to bartering goods instead of coin.
Correct. They need the money to keep their fight going on with Ptolemy. That's the only reason they need it. If they weren't fighting Ptolemy, they would be fine.
Okay.
And
kind of a grudge thing going on.
It's very small skirmishes on the continent where Serene is. Mm-hmm. But it's more of a Cold War. It's more of a war of ideas. It's not all-out war.
Okay.
It's more like,
that
we're going to go
sabotage
this new cannon you made or something, or whatever. It's not
right
on the field of battle killing each other with swords.
So after that, we had the Nauts, or is it Knots? Knots. Okay, that one's easy. I just overcomplicated it.
It's probably the easiest name, I will say that. Mm-hmm. So they're the seafaring faction. They're the people who own the seas. Like, they have a monopoly on the sea. Like, there's nobody else who knows how to navigate as well on water as the Knots.
So they get to kind of basically be in charge of all the movement around the different continents, essentially? Or
you want to go to Tirfridi? Well, got to go to the Knots.
Okay.
And the interesting thing with the Knots is there's two separate groups within this faction. Like, they're sub-factions. The Sea-born and the Sea-gifted.
Okay, so the Sea-born, I'm assuming, were born out on the sea.
Yep, on a ship.
As kind of gotcha. And then the Sea-gifted, are they just kind of like the muggles that all of a sudden just spout magical powers kind of thing? Not necessarily born of the sea, but
more
show promise.
It's more of, you want our services, give us your unborn child.
Oh, yeah. Gotcha.
Which raises conflict in the first, I guess, mission, with the Knots that you have on Serene, which is one of their cabin boys got kidnapped. Well, you find out that the people who kidnapped him was his family.
Okay.
And they broke the contract, basically, with the Knots and taking back their child. And you get the option of, do you make them honor the contract, or do you leave them as a family?
Okay.
Which is interesting.
So the Knots have rank over all the sea, and these factions just basically have their domain in various aspects, whether it's the merchants, mercenaries, the science buffs, and the religious, mystical side. They've
got a monopoly on one aspect, I guess, of society, you could say.
So who are the natives then, since that is our last grouping?
Well, just before we hit up that, there's one more thing I want to add about the Knots. So every time you rank up in that faction, you go get a new tattoo on your face saying, this is what happened, basically. It's the story of your life on your face.
Okay, so similar in some ways to the Maori in real life. Just tattoo that face. So if you have a bad case of, seasickness or some less flattering illness or anything like that, that wouldn't necessarily be on there. It had to be something fairly significant, like a battle or...
Correct.
Gotcha.
And I will say this, when you help one of the companions complete his full quest, you get the option of getting a tattoo, not tattoo, but it turns out to be like a goatee. It's the most atrocious thing.
I mean, at least you get a beard.
Yeah.
At least you get something.
But in my case, I have some scruff on my character, so I don't even remember if I got the tattoo because my scruff covers it. It's like, oops. If I did it, well, okay. If not, well, okay, I can't see it anyways. And
just a little pointless at that point.
The Knots have their own capital. They have a capital island that's not actually on the continent, which is interesting.
Okay.
It's on an island somewhere in the sea.
It's their pirating-esque hideaway, getaway, where all the gold is hidden. Maybe not literally, but figuratively.
Correct.
Okay, so the natives then, after that, if you are prepared already.
Yeah, we can move on to
I know these guys are pretty big.
There's a lot of clans, and oh boy, do they have some names. Like, the clan names are just insane. So your first encounter with this group is you're going to see your cousin, who's the new governor of New Serene. So if you heard me stuttering before about Serene, it's because I tried to put New Serene instead of Serene, because they're so close, you trip your tongue. Anyways.
Okay.
You're going to see your cousin, and one of the natives comes up and basically confronts you, being like, oh, why are you wearing foreigner clothes in Almanawi? And you're like, wait, who are you? And you kind of get into this discussion of, I'm not from any native clan. She's like, really? Okay. Then why do you have a mark on your face? Which we'll get into later. But that's the first encounter you have with the native group. And one of the reasons you go to the island, to Tirford, is to settle disputes between the other factions, but also to search for a cure for the Malachor.
That's the big plague-like thing, right? That's the driving force in most of the story?
For the most part, yeah.
Okay.
It's an underlying theme, but you're mostly settling disputes of this is the right way to cure, or find a cure, or yada yada yada. But the main interest everybody has with the natives is because they seem to have an immunity to it.
Okay.
So everybody, like the Ordo Luminous, not only is torturing them to convert, but they're like, what's up with your immunity? And same with the Bridge Alliance are kidnapping them as well. Not to convert them, but they actually kill them to dissect them to figure out what the heck's going on. To try to figure out.
Mm-hmm. Scientific research to figure out how they have this immunity.
Right, but it's always against their will. Which is, if you want my opinion on the Bridge Alliance, I'll tell you later. I don't have any good words for them. I don't. I really don't.
Interesting. So the whole groups, all the different groups in some way, shape, or form are basically trying to figure out how to get rid of this plague, and they go about it in some not so kosher ways.
The natives are caught in the middle, to say the least. I like to joke that it's the story of Pocahontas told from John's point of view.
Okay.
So there's your Disney reference.
Yay!
Nice.
But yeah.
You can...
It's very much that until you hit a major spoiler and you're like, oh, it's not Pocahontas anymore.
I'm sure it gets a little darker than
gets
Pocahontas, although that story is pretty dark. Like, the actual story is pretty dark, but yeah.
But, so the translation for the clans, all the clans, I'm sorry, I'm not going to try to pronounce all these. I can only pronounce one of them, and I'll tell you why when we get to it. But there's the Red Spears, which one of your companions is from. The Shadow Spirits, Wind Weavers, Storm Warriors, Sap Bearers, Bone Blowers, Guardians of the Heart, and the River Healers. And the only one I can pronounce is the Seaside Nemeus, because it sounds like Seaside My Name Is.
Okay. Seaside Maneas. Mm-hmm. And then if I'm going to kind of give it a go.
Go for it.
And I'm sure I'm... Gay Rod.
That's the Red Spears.
Enaman Shoddy.
Shadow Spirits is that one.
Vigay Abuelas.
Wind Weavers.
Which is a lot more Spanish than I was intending to go in that, but it's okay. Singeddon Anidas.
Storm Warriors.
Which is Bareg Noras.
Sap Bearers.
Siskeg Nemeus.
That's the Seaside Nemeus. It's the only one I can pronounce because of it sounds like Seaside My Name Is. Like, okay. Best way to go about it.
Absolutely. Vogele, Credi, probably Crede, maybe. And that's the Guardians of the Heart, and then Yigay Srodi.
Yeah.
Man.
You can usually bet that most of the G's are silent.
Yeah. Just not strong in that language at all. But worth a shot.
Yeah. There's a reason why I don't try. It's just...
Hey, yeah.
It gets hard when it comes to the natives, for certain.
So they don't necessarily sound French, per se. Although, if somebody speaks French, please feel free to correct me. But... from all the French songs that I've had to do in the past, they do not have similar syntax, or at least spellings, that I'm used to seeing. But, okay, these clans, how many were there? There were 7? 7 different clans?
9.
How do these clans...
No.
9? Oh?
8.
Really?
8.
Okay.
We both got it wrong. It's 8. It's whatever.
Okay. Meet in the middle. It's fine. How do these guys line up in comparison to the former clans from Serene?
So, like I said before, all these clans are caught in the middle, mainly between Thélème and the Bridge faction, the Bridge Alliance, not the faction, but the Bridge faction, because those are the two main people who are kidnapping people and torturing their people. So they're going and attacking them. All the clans are. You can guarantee that whatever clan you visit in-game has beef with Thélème and the Bridge Alliance.
So how you have in here, each clan has a Mal or king, which is like the king or queen or like leader of the group. Do they function like a king or queen, or do they function like a tribal leader?
It's more of a tribal leader. The king or queen aspect only comes in for the High King for uniting all the clans under kind of one banner when it's needed. But otherwise...
the wise man or wise woman of the tribe.
Donigad, or Donigata for plural, is the wise man or woman of the tribe, which are the healers, the shamans, the lore keepers, which are kind of more important than the Maul. But you can't do that and lead a tribe at the same time, kind of thing. So it's kind of where they split. And these Donigata, all of them will have a birthmark. I quote that because it's not really a birthmark. because they link themselves to the land in a specific spot, and then they have that mark on their face or on their body.
Is that something that happens naturally, or is that something that it's like they take on as part of like a ritual or a branding of some sort?
It's pretty immediate from what I can tell, is that they link themselves to the land and they get a birthmark kind of situation, a mark on their face or their body that kind of says, this is how powerful I am with the magic I can use. This is another faction that can use magic. It's more of a healing magic than light magic with Thélème, which is interesting. But
so more natural magic rather than like quote unquote heavenly magic.
Correct, yes. And as soon as they bond themselves to the land, they kind of get the title of Enal Manawi.
Okay.
Which kind of means they're linked to the land. They have a bond with the land. And this kind of allows them to transform when they meet a specific requirement that's not really told in the game, but it allows them to turn into a Nadag.
Like a spiritual animal type
kind
thing?
of.
Or okay. This is kind of speaking a little bit of the Dresden series to me, because there's a character that shows up later in the series that is it's similar in the fact that it's kind of a spirit kind of creature, but it's also tied very, very strongly to the land, but it's not a happy presence. It's kind of malevolent, at least in the Dresden books. But yeah, interesting. So these guys all have their different groups. Are they kind of divvied up by land? Or are they kind of, their clans are just by the area that they live in New Serene?
Well, New Serene isn't the continent. Tirfredi is. New Serene is the colony for the Congregation of Merchants.
Okay, so you have the old city, or the old country being Serene, and the old continent that lies on, and then you have this new grouping, this coming to quote unquote their America and the colony.
Yes, it could be related to that.
New Serene. Okay, gotcha. Just breaking it up. All right, so you have these different factions or groups in the, what did you call the continent again?
Tirfredi.
Tirfredi?
In the game, they don't...
T-Philippe?
Yes.
Another Disney reference?
But they don't keep a solid spelling in the lore, which kind of drives me nuts. Okay. But it's Tirfredi, for the continent.
Okay. So they're there, and then you have the different groupings that are coming over. Why are they trying to expand over into this other area? Is it just purely to try to figure out how to cure the plague, or is there another reason?
Well, if you want me to go into a little bit of light spoilers, I can, because...
I think just maybe just like a slight yes, they're kind of doing that, or no, it's totally something else, and you get to listen to that at the advanced episode kind of thing. So what
they have motivation for the Malachor, but up until about 15 years ago from the starting point of the game, so 15 years before all this kind of happens, the island was completely secret. Nobody knew about it.
Okay.
Until a few certain events happened, and then everybody's like, going to Tirfredi because the natives don't suffer from the Malachor. They don't even know what the Malachor is. So...
Okay. Interesting.
And you go on a whole... I don't know if you call it a side quest, but you go on a quest to figure out why they have, like, no clue of what the heck the Malachor is.
So this whole thing, there's magic and stuff involved, but there's not necessarily other creatures, is there? Or is it just purely based off of just kind of a light fantasy world rather than a high fantasy like Tolkien?
I would consider it high fantasy because there are definitely interesting fauna and flora in this game.
Okay.
I think I mentioned... I don't know when it was. It might have been in an earlier Destiny episode where I just mentioned in chat that I got curb stomped by one of the Nadags into the ground like one of those Mario characters. Don't even... But, oh my gosh. One of the forms a Nadag can take on is tree-like, like an Ent. And they have this kind of like leap attack and pound you into the ground. It's annoying.
Inset jump is kind of terrifying.
But there's various forms of Nodigs.
Okay.
And one particular one is very not safe for work, to say the least. If you look closely enough, you can tell why.
Gotcha.
Just a warning if you want to go look up what the Nodigs are, that one of them, yeah.
So, not necessarily a safe for kiddos under a certain age kind of game.
If you're paying attention to details when in combat, yes.
That's funny. Okay. So, you have the new world, the new land type area with the guys who are immune to the bad thing, and the old world where everybody is semi-harmonious, but also not, because the tamales, I'm just going to give up. The tamales are just not nice, and then you have
I knew you'd come
the
around.
Other group. I know, you're self-satisfaction. So then you have the other group that is kind of fighting against them. Do they, over in the new world, do they continue to fight in the different factions? That's so silly. But I think I understand why they're doing it. It's just like, why? You're in a new area.
It's a little bit different of a fight.
Figure it out?
I would say. I mean, it's still a war of ideas. It's very more violent over on the new world on Tier 4D, just because, lack of communication in their colonies, it tends to get a little bit more violent.
Gotcha.
There is shedding of blood, to be certain.
Okay, so you have that still going on in the new area. Is there another reason for the new area to be awesome? Is it like more lush? Is there like agricultural thing or expansion, or is there?
It is a lot more lush, just because
okay,
it hasn't seen the development that
industrialized. Yeah. Gotcha. And is there any other major areas, cities, markers that we need to kind of have an idea about before we start? Because we just so far have New Serene and Serene as the two primary locations. So
there's two other locations. For Teleme, you have San Mateus and Hikmet for the Bridge Alliance. There's nothing for the Knots because they settle down in whatever colony that pops up, because they stick to the sea. They don't settle down, minus the exception for the capital island.
They're kind of port-oriented rather than
correct
land-oriented.
They would not settle in a place that does not have access to the sea.
Gotcha. Every time when you said the Mateus, I had a flashback to Anthem for a hot minute, because there's a really annoying character named Mateus, if I remember correctly.
That is correct. I picked that up. I picked that game up and then dropped it.
Mateus or Matthias?
It's Matthias.
Matthias? It's Matthias. That's what it is. Man, yeah, he's annoying. Trying to think if there's anything else, like world building wise. We have magic. We have mobs, mercenary type things. We have seafarer, pirate type characters, as well as your normal merchant class, and religious / mystical, and the group that's kind of scientific based that's still fighting with some of these other groups. Is there anything else that I'm kind of missing on, as far as like we have a little bit on the world and a little bit on the character groupings?
That's a pretty good summarization, I would say.
Okay. Well, do we want to switch over to the advanced episode or close up this episode so we can prep for that one?
I'm game.
Blue?
Yeah, I think that sounds like a good one. So let's do a quick round of shout-outs for the introductory session. So that being said, Azrael, do you have any shout-outs for this one?
I have two. One is to you guys for letting me come on and talk about this.
Absolutely.
And then the second is actually to Bungie for the new Season of Dawn trailer release. I am super pumped for that.
Mm-hmm. Saint 14, or are you super pumped for the teaser that there's possibly a SRL thing that got sort of teased?
Totally Saint 14. I told Blue earlier that I cried at that part when they mentioned Saint 14 coming back. I cried with excitement. Like I shed tears over that. I was like, this game has only made me do that twice. One when Cade kicked the bucket, and now Saint 14.
So here's a question for you, and this is more opinion since we don't have like a hard line on it yet. I've seen throughout the interwebs people super confused on what his accent is. Some people say it's Greek, some people say it's Russian. I don't know what the other ones are. What do you think he's? What accent do you think he is? He is
definitely Russian. That is my opinion. He is full out Russian, and I love it.
I am excited. I'm excited to hear more from him, and just him and I can't think of the name of the actor. The actor who plays Saint 14 and the actor who plays Osiris playing off each other, because I know that people get mad at the comic, but I still love the Saint 14 comic where they're having a conversation, aka fighting.
Yeah, I really hope that there's some banter between the two.
Yeah, it'll be kind of fun. My shout out mainly goes to you, because I know if you guys have learned anything this episode, it's all on Azrael, because this guy did a bang up job on the show notes and has been in contact with me for months at this point, just making sure everything's just so for this. So I appreciate how much work and how much dedication you had to just putting together a really good show for this one, because it's going to show. It's going to be a really good one for everybody to enjoy, and you did a great job.
Thank you. It's go big and go big or go home for me.
Absolutely. Blue?
Oh, well, you got it. I mean, I kind of gave a preemptive shout out at the beginning of the episode, and then I agree, and I will double down on what you just said as well. But yeah, that's I appreciate the patience of the community and the amazing work that Azrael's put in. You guys, you don't realize how much that means to us, or at least to me. I'm pretty sure Green would agree. But it really does mean a lot, and I appreciate it. But yeah, so until next time, we will see you later, and goodbye. With that, we'll begin to wrap the chat up. Thank you again to those over on Twitch for coming to spend your evening with us. If you'd like to join us for the live streaming of the episodes, please be sure to give us a follow over on twitch.tv/FocusFireChat. Links to all our episode archives can be found at www.thelorenetwork.com. Please be sure to email us at focusfirechat@gmail.com with any comments and or questions for the team concerning the podcast, and let us know how we're doing by giving us some feedback and a rating over on iTunes as well. So until next time, focus your fire and may your light shine bright.
Still no outro. I love it.
No.
Never.
Until next time.
Do you keep this part in?
Goodbye.
Do you keep this part in?
Do I? It depends. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't.